Hello, my name is David Hosking. I'm a director of the Travel Corporation, TTC, and currently I'm also the acting managing director or global CEO for the Contiki Group. I guess you could say that I fell in love with the travel industry when I joined Contiki in 1975. I'd studied agriculture in New Zealand, went overseas like a lot of Kiwis to see the big world. Met some people in London who introduced me to someone who worked for Contiki. It was a very small company then. But I liked the guy that I met. He introduced me to the company and they hired me. And it's been a wonderful journey, so that's probably when I fell in love with travel. I'm still in it. My TTC story really began in the late 80s, 1989 actually, when we became directly involved. Contiki, I was the managing director of Contiki in Europe at that stage, and Contiki had got into some financial difficulties. The ownership of the group had ventured into other areas outside of travel and outside of Contiki. And with the stock market crashes of the mid-80s, Contiki was in financial difficulties. Not so much Contiki. Contiki was still doing well, but all the profitability of Contiki was going to prop up the rest of the group. So long story short, the board and the shareholders put Contiki up for sale, and that's when we were sold to Trafalgar, and that was really the beginning of my TTC story, because the first acquisition that Trafalgar made was Contiki. And that really was the start of TTC in 1989, 1st of July 1989. Yeah, I've been lucky to have moved and lived in many parts of the world and to have been promoted many times through the group, certainly during my Contiki days. I started in Europe. I then set up Contiki New Zealand, Contiki Australia. I went to America for 4 years, from 83 till 87, to set up Contiki America. And when Trafalgar bought Contiki, which was the start of TTC, I was actually managing director of Europe. Once I joined TTC, after about a year, I was asked to become the global CEO for the Contiki Group, which I very much enjoyed. Subsequently, in the mid-90s, I moved to Geneva. In 1996, we set up the Geneva office. I moved to Geneva and headed up TravCorp Geneva, while still keeping my overall Contiki responsibilities. In early 2000, I was asked to become a director of TTC, and really since then, my responsibilities have grown considerably, and I look after many aspects within the group, including group insurances, often involved in crisis communications, and some of the difficult moments we go through as a group, but they're also equally as important. And recently I became back engaged with Contiki, and I'm currently the acting CEO of Contiki, whilst we look for a new, younger, better-looking guy to do the job, or hopefully a lady. I guess my biggest learning is people. In many respects, the jobs and many aspects or many parts of the job are relatively easy. It's a wonderful industry to be in, the travel industry. It's the want industry, not the need industry, so people want to be with you, they want to travel, they want to be with you. So it's a great industry to be part of, but probably the learning for me over time has been the people. If you get the people side right, then the job becomes a lot easier. And the most difficult aspect of being involved in travel and involved internationally with a lot of people spread all over the world is making sure that the people are in the right place at the right time. And I wasn't always as good at that as I should have been, wasn't always as patient as I should have been. And as you grow in an organization, it's less about the job and more about the people. So my biggest learning and probably my biggest pleasure has been working with so many wonderfully talented people globally on the various aspects that I look after in TTC. Favorite memory. I mean, in 43 years, there's a lot. Not sure I do have a favorite memory. Probably my time with Contiki. I started with Contiki in 1975, became a tour manager for them in 1976. And here I am today, back as the acting managing director of Contiki. Not sure I should be, but I am. I enjoy it. I love the many wonderful, bright people that work for Contiki. So probably my overriding memory of my time within the group has been my involvement with Contiki. I'm David Hosking, and this has been my TTC story, and nice to share it with you.